UFO sightings, information released by French Space Agency, UFO details on 600 cases over 64 years. And we'll see that they have a listing of coloring, size, and shapes as well. There's a lot going on in the UFO community. We know that we just had a report released to Congress by the Department of Defense of the United States, and a lot of countries have been recently coming out about their own UFO sightings as well. One very old diagram, 1979, has a legend. It's a UFO showing that it has orange and green on top, as well as yellow underneath and red at the end. Very strange colorations. This is by Kudam Pidada Collective Evolution. It's on Collective Spark. Reporting to France's space agency CNES is a little-known unit that investigates the unidentified aerial phenomenon, that what we call UFO, and makes its findings public. GPAN stands for Groupe d'études et d'information sur les phénomènes aérospatiaux non-identified, like unidentified aerial phenomenon, what we call UFO. Now, while everyone is focused on the US version of the study, which will contain over 120 events, GPAN released a report that covers over 600 recorded incidents by pilots over a 64-year period. The paper concentrates on 290 of these incidents when the unidentified aerial device had or may have had an impact on flight safety. So it was a matter of security, obviously. Now, while the study has received little attention, there are several data points that are essential in establishing or verifying particular aspects of the phenomenon. It will be fascinating to see if the DNI's report to Congress has comparable results, or if they will disclose these findings to the public. Kindly support my Patreon account, since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. A listing of UAPs, disc or circular, 132, that's 42% of the cases. Spherical, balloon type, 28%. Oval, elliptic, 51 cases at 16%. Cigar, fuselage shape, 10%. Triangular, missile, rocket type, and all other types of crescent, banana, whatever you want to call, inverted bowl, half moons, things like that. So they come in all types of shapes, colors, and sizes, as we can see. And what's not in here are, of course, the light orbs, something that looks like a very strong white light. Now, the 1952 to 54 peak years, the distribution of the 600 cases by years reveals that 320 instances, that's 53%, occurred over a 16-year period from 1946 to 1960, with 275 cases, that's 46%, occurring between 1950 and 1957. The year with the most instances, 83 cases, was 1952, followed by 1954 with 40 cases. The years 1952 in the United States and 54 in Europe were regarded as the 2 peak years for UFO or UAP sightings. There's no discernible seasonal trend in the distribution of these 600 cases per month. Let's remember, this is the French Space Agency report. July has the most instances, 75, compared to other months, and April has the fewest cases, 29. The remaining 10 months had between 42 and 56 instances, which does not appear to be a substantial difference. Witnesses failed to indicate the time of day in 38 cases, at 6%. Out of the remaining 562 occurrences, 305, that's 54%, occurred at night, and 257, that's 46%, occurred during the day. I would venture to say that if these UFOs were lit, and were flying around, obviously people would perhaps notice them much better at night. Now, a global phenomenon. The 600 instances are almost universally dispersed. They are positioned over continental zones, 564 in total, encompassing 56 nations, as well as above marine zones, 36 cases. The American continent, North, Central, and South America had 376 cases, that's 58%. In North America, having 298 instances, that's Canada and the United States. 108 instances have been reported above Europe, with 33 of them occurring in French airspace. That's over 30%. Now, witness credibility. Pilots only. The UAP sightings recorded by military pilots are the most common among the 600 occurrences documented during a 64-year period. 251 instances, or 42%. Commercial pilots reported 233 instances, that's 39%, while private pilots recorded 105 cases, 18%. When the latter section of the time range investigated, 1990 to 2010 is included, the outcome is completely different. The commercial aircraft instances are the most frequent of the 70s. That's the 49 in total, that's 70%. Military pilots reported 12 instances, 17%, while private pilots reported 9 cases, that's 13%. This, I believe, is related to the secrecy that armies throughout the world have taken when it comes to disclosing UAP sightings. A thorough study of the distribution of military aircraft cases by year reveals that 75% of them, that's 189 instances, happened during a 14-year period from 1946 to 1959. The majority of these instances were military cases from the 1950s, and numerous official records from the time period were declassified in the years that followed. U.S. Air Force Project Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book. In 141 cases, that's 24%, almost a quarter of the 600 cases, the phenomenon was observed from 2 or more aircraft in flight. So, it wasn't just one aircraft or one pilot, two flights. There were 2 or more eyewitnesses in 415 incidents, that's 69%, so it wasn't some kind of an imaginary event. The pilot or co-pilot was the lone witness in 185 instances, that's 31%. The findings reveal that in more than 2/3 of the 600 cases, there were 2 or more witnesses. Flight characteristics and radar detection. The distribution of incidents by flight phase reveals that the vast majority of sightings happened when the aircraft was in cruise flight. It should be noted that the pilot has more time to look at the sky during this phase of flight because the aircraft is frequently on autopilot. Pilots, on the other hand, focus their attention on flying and flight instruments throughout the other 4 phases of flight. Radar visual RV sightings are classified into 3 types. 1 is detection by ground radar, 2, detection by airborne radar AR, and 3, detection by both ground radar and aerial radar AGR. When ground controls checks but does not detect any targets on the radar display and cannot corroborate the visual sighting, a 4th category NR occurs. Among the 600 cases chosen, a radar check, positive or negative, was performed in 278, that's 46% of them, and the findings are as follows. Positive radar detection, GR, AR, and AGR, 162 cases, that's 27% of the 600 cases. Negative radar detection, NR, that's 115 cases. It's worth noting that the proportion of positive radar detection, 27%, is precisely the same as the result of prior research of 300 instances. The visual observation of the event was verified by both airborne and ground radar in 31 cases, that's 21%. Let's not be shocked by this. I mean, even the F-35s cannot be found by Russian radar. Okay, they're stealth to the Russian radar. So even though the pilot can see them, the radar doesn't see it. That's the F-35s, military jets. Now, example. On a landing approach, the co-pilot of a Caravelle spotted 5 or 6 lights off the right wingtip that followed the aircraft on a parallel track. He inquired with the air traffic controller if there were any other planes on final approach. ATC provided a negative response, but confirmed that there was a radar echo in the right of the aircraft that followed it. The lights vanished off the right wingtip and reappeared off the left wingtip. The pilot activated the autopilot and examined the onboard radar, which revealed an echo to the left. Simultaneously, the air traffic controller reported that the unknown echo had moved to the left of the caravel. This is case 1352 in France, 1979. Okay. Then we have the radar visual cases, are very important and interesting for two reasons. One, they confirm the visual testimony of the pilot and or the crew by technical record of the phenomenon. And two, sometimes they give technical measures like speed, altitude, or trajectory of the UFO. Example, the crew of a B-575 noticed a black cigar-shaped wingless object below their aircraft off to the right, around 15 to 20 miles away. Tacoma's NORAD WASD, that's Western Air Defense Sector, headquarters has an unclear track. It looked to be motionless at first, then surging in a burst of speed for 20 to 30 seconds before coming to a complete halt. It lingered for 1.5 minutes before accelerating again in a burst of speed. This was done many times during a 4-minute period, after which the target vanished. The calculated speed was between 1,000 and 1,400 miles an hour. This is case 1266, USA, 1995. The phenomenon. Pilots classify the things they see into two categories: light points and objects, which have a solid appearance. UAP reported by pilots and crews is described as having a material or three-dimensional solid aspect in over 3/4 of the instances, 74%. UAP is described as solid, although it's most commonly reported as objects, which come in a variety of forms. The most commonly reported forms are round or elliptical with a metallic appearance, sphere, silvery disc, etc. Meanwhile, several additional forms were noticed, some of which were quite odd and contradictory to traditional aerodynamic designs. Example, two yellow objects shaped like hamburgers, case 1149, USA, 1980. A black cylindrical object 24 feet long and 9 feet wide, case 1123, Italy, 1979. A giant triangle shape with intense lights joining the edges, case 1113, Chile, 1978. A long brown cigar-shaped object, case 1050, Portugal, 1967. An airliner fuselage without any wings or tail and with potholes lighted from inside, case 1347, France, 1985. An elliptical shape, flat below and slightly domed on the upper part, case 1245, Sahara, 1965. A large elliptical object looking like a metallic mushroom, which at times appears to be translucent and seems to have a transparent glass-like dome, case 556, Australia, 1954. So in more than 2/3 of the 600 selected cases, 474 cases at 78%, the witnesses have reported only one UAP. In 117 cases, 20%, pilots reported sightings of 2 or more UAP. In 12 cases, groups of more than 10 UAP were observed at the same time. A pilot recorded the lowest estimated altitude as 500 feet. Major Joe Walker, who was piloting the X-15 rocket-propelled aircraft on a test flight at more than 2,000 miles per hour when his rear-view movie camera caught 5 disc-shaped cylindrical objects flying in echelon formation, reported the greatest UAP height of 246,000 feet. Case 854, April 1964. Interaction. Interaction cases are those in which UAP appears to react to the presence of an aircraft. Interactions between UAP and aircraft were observed in 299 instances, almost 50%. These cases are about the following events. 1. UAP conducts maneuvers to approach, chase, or escape from the aircraft. 2. Dogfights with military aircraft. And 3. UAP circles or performs maneuvers near to the aircraft. This category includes reports of electromagnetic impacts on aviation systems. The phenomena approached the airplane on a collision path in 78 occasions, and there was a near collision with the aircraft in 6 more. The pilot was required to take evasive action in 31 occasions to avoid colliding with the UAP, including 3 cases, all commercial aircraft incidents in which passengers were wounded during the move. In 59 of the incidents, the UAP circle door moved close to the aircraft. This sort of occurrence has the most reports, 20 cases of suspected electromagnetic impacts on aviation equipment, particularly for commercial 8 cases and private aircraft 8 cases. Aggressive tic-tacs. In terms of events that may have an influence on flight safety, the most common kind reported by commercial pilots is UAP approaches aircraft on a collision course, with a total of 38 instances. The pilots claim that the UAP circles aircraft and or moves close to the aircraft in 24 occasions. Pilots most commonly reported claiming electromagnetic impacts on their aircraft systems during this sort of occurrence. In 15 cases, the pilot had to take evasive action to avoid a collision with the object that resulted in passengers injured in 3 cases. Example, the crew members of a B-747-300 saw an extremely rapid white rocket-like object overflowing their plane between 200 and 400 feet above in the opposite direction. The item, which they characterized as cylindrical, lacked a wing. There was no TCAS warning. The object just flew above their head. It was close enough that the flight officer lowered his head, fearing it might strike them. It was white and spherical in form. There was no apparent smoke or flames coming from the item. ARTCC observed no radar echo in the aircraft's opposite direction. The National Transportation Safety Board has reached no judgment on the identity of the object, but the matter is considered closed. Case 1293, USA 1997. Private aircraft instances with potential influence on flight safety account for the majority of the cases, accounting for 34 of the 65 cases in which pilots reported claimed electromagnetic impacts on aircraft systems. Instances involving private aircraft account for 54% of all cases, compared with commercial aircraft cases 15%, military aircraft 27%. Electromagnetic effects. The most troublesome element of UAP, UFO contacts, appears to be situations in which permanent or transitory electromagnetic impact occurred on aircraft systems during flight, either directly or indirectly as a result of the relatively close presence of one or more UFOs. In 81 of the 600 chosen cases, claimed electromagnetic interference was seen and reported 14%. Everything from radios to weaponry was impacted. Readers should remember this information and realize that studies that have gone to great efforts to assist us in figuring out the nature of UFO UAP enigma already exist. They've been studied by reputable organizations staffed by qualified scientists and professionals. This is from Collective Evolution, published here under Creative Commons on Collective Spark. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.